Welcome to the Market Front Lines. I'm Lyndsay Malchuk. A powerful new player is reshaping the aerospace and defense landscape, and investors are now starting to take notice. Volatus Aerospace isn't just moving the drone revolution, they're shaping it. From strategic financing to geopolitical positioning, the company has been quietly building momentum while the rest of the market catches up. And at the helm of this operation is someone who's been steering the company through a very fast-paced landscape switch with precision. I'm joined by Glen Lynch, CEO of Volatus Aerospace. Glen, it's so great to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Lyndsay. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Glen, if we can kick things off with the surge in order volume that you're seeing, Volatus has been reporting a very sharp increase in that activity, and that doesn't happen by accident. So what's really fueling this growth, and how confident are you that this is not just actually a temporary spike, but really a durable trend over the next year or two?
So there's a number of things that are affecting it. I would say geopolitics is number one. I mean, everything had started 3 years ago with obviously the development of conflicts in the world, where drones have played a prominent role. But that's become even more important recently as geopolitical trends have shifted to more, I would say, isolationist type policies. And it's caused countries to look inward to make sure that they've got more self-sufficiency, more security and economic independence. And I believe because of the impact on drones in modern warfare and modern defense strategies, we'll probably continue to see that over the next 3 to 5 years as people learn from the experiences of Ukraine, for example, and start to integrate drones into their own defense strategies.
Well, it's definitely fascinating to watch it all evolve for sure. I mean, the kind of growth that you're experiencing right now, that doesn't come without strategic firepower behind it. So you recently closed some very significant financing rounds, and investors are watching that very closely to see where that capital is headed. My question here is how are you deploying these funds, and what concrete milestones should the market be watching for in the near term that signal real momentum?
So we went through a couple of years of working capital challenges, I would say, as capital markets were unfriendly, or even I could say closed to small cap tech companies. Yeah. So a lot of what we did was reposition ourselves to be properly capitalized. So a lot of that has to do with our solution sales, where our demand cycle is significantly shorter than our supply cycle. So inventory investments are required. And really the investment was to extend our runway, put us in a position that we could actually finance the growth activities that we've been expecting, and strengthen our balance sheet. So we're now in I would say, a good position. Our CFO, who's I'll call him more of a financial engineer than anything, has done a really good job repositioning us so that as we catch the bus, we know what to do with the bus.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys have a strong team behind you for sure. Now, Glen, capital is one thing, but navigating today's geopolitical chessboard, that's a whole nother game right there. So we're seeing rising global tensions. We're seeing the defense budgets shifting, and governments, they're actually, shifting their priorities as well. So, how is Volatus positioning itself in this new landscape to seize that opportunity while also managing the risks that come with operating in such a high-stake environment?
So there's a lot to that question. One of the things I want to bring up is that things are changing. As the defense procurement starts to recognize the significance of drones in that space, there's an awful lot of market share that's shifting from what would have been the primes or tier one suppliers to small business, where there's a more rapid scale of innovation. Innovation right now, if we look at Ukraine, from thought to theater is about 3 months. So very, very quick development. And our industry is kind of built on that kind of agility. Really what we're seeing is somewhat of an isolationist kind of attitude that's happened with our southern neighbor as they focus on America first. So building their own interests and starting to recapture some of the jobs that they felt they've lost. I think in cases like that for Volatus, it's meant making sure that we recognize and respect the position of the administration. They're elected by the American people. So at the end of the day, what we do in the United States is using our U.S. leadership, we serve America by Americans using American assets. So that's in America. In Canada and rest of the world, it's a little bit different, where we've realized that perhaps ourselves in Canada, certainly Canada, but many countries have taken access to the U.S. market for granted. And these recent changes have been a wake-up call. Regardless of where things fall out with the global trade dynamics, everybody's realized now, and particularly in Canada, that we have to become more economically and security independent. So what does that mean? Our Prime Minister recently said that we as Canadians can give ourselves far more than any nation can take away. And I think a lot of people are seeing that around the world, where they're looking inwards to say, let's make sure that we're actually developing a healthy domestic ecosystem, and that where we are partnering, they're diversified partnerships that are not overly dependent on any single market. So that's creating, it's a new way of looking at things, but frankly, for those that are paying attention, I think there's enormous opportunities. And from a defense procurement standpoint, that's the blue sky right now, but the blue sky is actually here today. The procurement activities are happening today with the increase in spending that's pledged not just by Canada, but by governments around the world.
Well, let's actually push that geopolitical evolution just a little bit further, can we? So while that geopolitical backdrop is continuing to evolve, the real question for investors often comes down to where the future growth engines sit inside the business. So Volatus, you operate across multiple verticals, from defense to commercial, drone services to training and infrastructure. So which of these segments do you expect to really lead the charge in terms of growth and profitability going forward? And my second part to that is, what makes those areas the most strategically valuable right now?
So those are great questions. First of all, it's our industrial commercial activity that provides the base and the stability. There's much less volatility in that space than there is in defense. But growth right now for the next 3 to 5 years will most certainly be the real, exciting growth area. Defense is lumpy, but it's big.
Right.
So there's so much happening in that space right now, with Canada's increase in defense spending to 2% this year, 3.5% and 5% subsequently moving forward. It's huge defense, huge spending that's long overdue for Canadian military, but also the government's recognition that we need to onshore and spend less of our dollar in for example, in our case, predominantly it's the United States. I think the estimate was 75 cents of every dollar being spent in the United States. That's become a little bit more challenging. So now the idea is to spend more and more of that money right here at home, which has opened significant opportunities for companies that are prepared to jump into that arena and capitalize on those challenges. But it's creating opportunities in manufacturing, in defense procurement. There's I would say in my lifetime, I'm not sure in my professional lifetime that I've ever seen an environment that was, so target rich in terms of opportunities.
Now, Glen, of course, in a space that's heating up this fast, staying ahead of the pack isn't optional anymore. It's a game of survival at this point. So there's no shortage of players trying to carve out their piece of the global aerospace in the drone market. Tell me, what truly sets Volatus apart in this race, and how are you defending that position as competition intensifies on that global scale?
There's a lot. First of all, there's a rising tide, right? All boats are doing well. Our industry is full of opportunity. So there's a lot more collaboration than competition, I would say. But that said, the big thing for Volatus would be a combination of our scale, our regulatory ability, and the overall capabilities that we've developed through our strategy of acquiring companies and then growing those companies. Right. We have a strong geographic footprint. We cover, 180 full-time employees in 4 countries on 3 different continents, not including some administrative staff we have in India even. So there's one more country. But that footprint allows us to adapt to where the opportunities are. The other thing is we have extensive experience operating drones that are beyond the visual line of sight of the pilot. For example, from our operations control center in Toronto, we operate drones routinely on almost a daily basis on the other side of the continent, where the air vehicle is more than 3,000 kilometers away from the operating pilot. So that's an area that allows scalability. It allows us to be highly competitive, and it allows us to grow our top line and our margin equally.
Well, Glen, what can investors expect in the coming quarters then?
Well, they can expect an awful lot of hard work from us. That's what they can expect. We've got a fantastic team. I get the privilege of taking credit for a whole bunch of work I don't do. We've got some phenomenal executive leadership and the balance of our company. One of the key parts about Volatus is our shareholders include all of our full-time employees. So their interests are aligned with our stakeholders, with all of our stakeholders. So everybody's pretty conscious of making sure that it's always responsible growth and focus on what it's doing for the value of our company, as well as the individual contracts that we're chasing.
Well, it sounds like there is a lot happening over there. Thank you so much for sitting with us today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Lyndsay. It's always a pleasure.
Again, that was Glen Lynch, CEO of Volatus Aerospace. For more information, go to their website and visit volatusaerospace.com. This has been the Market Front Lines. I'm Lyndsay Malchuk. Stay tuned next time.